You are listening to the EPT Works Listen, Love, Give podcast. Hi, I'm Dr. Annette Cargioli, the Forgiveness Doctor. I'm here to help you create phenomenal health, happiness, and new life with energy, intuition, and forgiveness. In a world where emotional health is often treated with mind-altering drugs or years of talk therapy, it's time for more compassionate, imaginative initiatives in emotional health care. EPT is short for Emotional Polarity Technique, an innovative, holistic emotional therapy that will change your life and health for good. You can learn more about Emotional Polarity Technique through my new book, The Forgiveness Doctor, available on Amazon.com. You can subscribe to this podcast, get free EPT training at eptworks.com, and like us on Facebook.
Okay, hello everyone. I am on the line here today with Dr. Annette Cargioli. She is my dear friend and mentor, and she is the doctor who developed EPT therapy. So welcome, Dr. Annette. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for inviting me, Kelly. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. So I do have some questions, as we already discussed at the beginning of this. Just to start out, because I think that EPT is kind of new on the front lines of energy healing and or energy work. So just in a nutshell, tell me, what is EPT?
You know, EPT is basically a compassionate, collaborative, imaginative initiative for emotional health care. And you mentioned energy work. I happen to believe that everything out there is energy work. If you're going to a therapist and they're doing talk therapy, guess what? Your energy is changing.
Absolutely.
So, to relegate, I kind of, to say that EPT is just in that energy field, and it kind of puts it in that, the woo-woo category, so to speak, where people, and, I call things that are woo-woo, the things that take extra words to explain, that you have to have some kind of a degree in to know what people are talking about. They use all kinds of language about chakras and blocking and shielding, and everybody kind of goes into Star Trek mode, and nobody really knows how to make sense of this outside of the energy community. I like to think of EPT as a technique that actually makes sense to everybody. You don't need some degree in energy healing to understand that something very amazing is taking place. And it heals you. It heals your body, it heals your mind, and it heals your spirit. And it's basically foundationally based in forgiveness. And I want to say that right there is a significant signature of EPT, is the energy of forgiveness, the idea of forgiveness, the driving to the point of forgiveness. Everybody, if you're lucky, or if you just live a life that's got any length to it, has experienced a moment of forgiveness in your life, where in that moment, whether you were trying to make it happen or not, you forgive, you come to that place and you're just like, you let it all down, you lay it all down, you let it go, you lay it at the cross, you forgive, and you really give it all up. In that moment, all the pain, all the stress is immediately gone. Your perception of yourself, your perception of others, your perception of your whole community changes in that instant. The goal of EPT is to get you to that forgiveness moment faster and more effectively, so that you have more of those immediate releases and changes that heal your body, mind, and spirit.
I love it. And I know that I've experienced that for myself in so many areas of my life where I was stuck holding on to unforgiveness. The energy of being able to forgive just wasn't really, it was blocked, it was trapped. And once I, either received EPT or did EPT on myself for that issue, I was able to release it and forgive. And it's been really, really powerful.
Well, and there are plenty of people who will say, and I've been there as well, where you hit a wall and you may know cognitively, I know that forgiveness can set me free. I know that forgiveness can heal so many things and relax my body and my mind and move me forward. But I just don't want to forgive. I don't think I can do it. Internally, my internal world has got a wall in it saying, no, no, no. And that's where the energy and the intuitive part of EPT bring you to that moment easier. It's like locating usually when somebody's stuck like that, maybe I can't forgive an abusive husband, but the real problem they're dealing with is they can't forgive an abusive father. And when you do EPT, you kind of unveil those hidden memories where they are related to what's sticking you now and what doesn't allow you to move forward now, even though you're so sure it's the abusive husband. It turns out it's the abusive father or the abusive grandfather or abusive mother that you never forgave. You just kind of like covered up and moved on and attracted in this new abuser.
Right. Okay. So I think that a lot of people might be curious about how you came up with this. So can you tell me the story of EPT, how it was born?
I love this because my kids were the first people that I started working with a lot, because I knew, hey, I know the junk that's in our family. I know that I want a better relationship with my children than I had with my parents, even though I had a really average, normal relationship with my parents. So I am a holistic chiropractor. So I learned, and I've had tons and tons of issues, physical issues. I grew up with lots of allergies. I had excess weight, like I put on 50, 60 pounds in my youth in like age 19, 20. And I had chronic acne. And I decided that, and I was in chiropractic college. So I'm thinking, wow, chiropractic care, which even though a lot of people think chiropractic care is an orthopedic, back pain, you got back pain, you got neck pain, you got arm pain, you need to go to a chiropractor. Well, actually, chiropractic is more than that. Chiropractic is a very holistic technique. It's about turning on the power between the brain and the body and the communication between the body and the brain. And when you remove all the interference from that main circuit in the spine, all the information between the body and the brain and the brain and the body is opened up, and what innately can flow to create the most vitality and the greatest life force in your body is opened up. So if you can think about chiropractic as turning on the power, you start to see it a whole different way. I need my breaker switch opened up. I need the power from the brain, the body, and back, all that communication open. That's what chiropractic originally has been, and that's really what I see the value in chiropractic. So in chiropractic college, I thought, oh, I'm going to be opening up the power, and I'm going to get, my headaches are going to go away, and everything is going to get better, and it's all going to be chiropractic, because I went to a pretty straight school in Atlanta, Georgia, Life Chiropractic College, which says it's all about getting that body lined, opening up those circuits, and you're going to have the greatest life experience. So meanwhile, I could do this with patients. I could adjust them and get rid of their headaches. But me, I would still have headaches because probably a lot of it was allergy and weight related and hormone related. And really it boiled down to a lot of emotional stuff, but I didn't know that in the beginning. So I learned tons of nutrition. I mean, I am like a crazy, I want to say the trivial pursuit of holistic remedies. You pretty much ask me for any, what do I do for this? And I got something because I have studied that so in detail to help my own problems and my own kids, because I didn't want to give them drugs. I wanted to do this a better way. And so I learned a lot about nutrition, still had headaches. Then I went to my first emotional teacher was Dr. Scott Walker. This was way back in the early 90s. And I went to a Parker seminar, and I got in the front of the room, and he checked me with neuro-emotional technique. I believe that NET is now called something else, but I'm not sure. He's kind of morphed it a lot over the years. I haven't been to one of those classes since 94, I think. Anyway, he worked on me, and he told me it was age 10, and he did an adjustment, which is what he did in that day. And I didn't have a headache for a year. Meanwhile, I went back to my office, and I was still kind of shy about, I'm going to like tell somebody, oh, your pain in your back is from when you were 5 years old and blah, blah, blah. I was a little nervous about that as a chiropractor. I had a pretty straight practice, and I thought, oh, this is not going to be met very well. And I was already using magnets as well, which I had learned before I got out of school. I learned the use of North Pole and South Pole magnets from Richard and Mary Broingmeyer, who were from Kentucky. They both passed away now, but they had amazing research in biomagnetics and the use of not the North-South Pole together, but how the North Pole affects tissue and how the South Pole affects tissue. And this is a whole different idea than most people even understand about magnets right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I was combining all of that. I learned, I learned how to find that original event from Dr. Scott Walker, who I was told learned from someone else. Muscle testing, it's a little crazy. People start passing around what they're doing. And then I added in the magnets, and it helped me to be able to move away from spinal corrections, which were a little tough for people who aren't chiropractors. There were a lot more to teach. So I moved into that. I did not, like I said, I think I had a headache a year later, and we figured out that was an emotional issue as well. And then it totally changed how my headaches were. Meanwhile, it also changed my overall health. I started also using it with my children, and they used to ask me, well, they called it that technique that makes you feel better. So I'm a chiropractor, and I'm thinking, I should adjust you, and that should be the technique that makes you feel better. But my kids didn't call a spinal adjustment the one that made you feel better. They called EPT that thing that makes me feel better.
Mm-hmm.
That for me. So that's really where it began. I'll add this. I taught my first seminar in 1994, and I wrote the book, which is still the same notes of how to do it, the basic core of it, because my mother, who was a minister's wife, was so itching to do what I did that she totally I got to have this. Will you teach me? And I said, I'll teach you. She set up a seminar. She made me write a book because I would have never written it without my mother hounding me. And I wrote the technique manual and did my first seminar in 1994.
So it was basically, you had a lot of experience, and you found, wait a minute, this helps, and hang on, this helps. And, I'm going to add this, and layer by layer by layer, it all came to fruition and came to what we now know as EPT. Is that?
Yeah. It was so inspired at the time. And looking back, I realized that. But even at the time, things were coming into my hands, books, what I needed when I needed it presented itself to form this thing called emotional polarity technique. And there was a point where I realized I'm doing something completely different. And there's a model to it. There's a step 1, step 2, step 3. And I never thought I'd be one of those people who stands in front of a room and people say, where did you get this? And you go, it was given to me.
Mm-hmm.
God gave it to me. God gave this to me. I was one of the people who used to say, oh, really? If I have to hear one more person say that. And yet I realized that, God in all his mercy and his love for all humans, he delivers answers when we need answers. And, it is time. It's time for more compassionate, imaginative initiatives in emotional health care. It is so time when we're living in a time where toxic drugs and years of talk therapy is what most people have to use to get better. It is so time for initiatives like EPT to step up to free mankind from this suffering.
I completely agree. I think that every generation is given what it needs for that generation. And I, I mean, you look around you, there's just so much hurting. There's so much chaos in the world. There's so many broken hearts and broken families, and so much abuse and neglect and turmoil, that now is the time. And we're seeing all of these different, energy healing and emotional release techniques coming forward. And I really believe, I completely agree with you, that God gives us exactly what we need, exactly when we need it. And He is working an amazing miracle through you in your life in bringing forward this work of emotional polarity technique. And we see the miraculous healing that takes place when people open up their hearts and receive this work, and they're able to forgive, and they're able to heal their homes. And, it all starts with yourself. We all know that, you can't fix the world, but you can start with yourself. You can fix yourself. But when you fix yourself, then that starts a ripple effect in your family. And when your family is healed, that sends the ripple effect out into the community and into the world. And so, this is really, really, really powerful healing. Because it's at the core. It starts at the root.
The American Academy of Family Physicians put this out. 2/3 of all office visits to family physicians are due to stress-related symptoms. 2/3 of all visits to family physicians are due to stress-related symptoms. Mm-hmm. And I say that, here's what people who are going to an energy healer, or the person's really putting out there, I do energy work and oh my, and that's kind of frightening to people who are going to their physician. Mm-hmm. I mean, here's what EPT really looks like. A person shows up or talks to an EPT practitioner, and their first thing is they go, you know what, I'm going through a divorce. I'm stress eating. I can't, fighting with my kids all the time. And so basically they're kind of presenting with a focus of a problem. And so EPT practitioners, this is how it looks. You take that and then you boil it down to finding where the stresses are occurring within their whole timeline. So from the time they're born, and sometimes even before, in a generational perspective, if they've got alcoholism in that family or whatever that has gone, or, suicides that have happened, sometimes it can be generational, as we've seen now with current science. This isn't even woo-woo stuff. This has all become mainstream science. You go in and you've got your focus. The EPT practitioner says, let's think about this. And we simply ask, how many issues do we need to do? We boil it down to, you've got 3 issues to clear this issue. And you go to an original event. So we kind of we categorize where we're going to go very quickly. It can be followed by the client so easily. And then we hit the goal, which is, now let's sit down and let's find out where that point of forgiveness, that moment of forgiveness that collapses everything and frees you and releases all the pain and all the stress in your life. That's what we're looking for. And it is so elegant, and it's so easy for a client to follow and understand. They don't, the only thing is they walk out and they're like, I didn't know you could do something so quickly that I actually followed and understood. Because normally they'll go somewhere. The person, energy workers are prone to saying, let me I'm going to fix your third chakra. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to do this. And I'm going to move this. And I'm going to do your brain. And okay, go. We'll see you next time. And it's like the relevance to the client is kind of lost. And the collaboration of this person who is a client who also has a free will operating in them is kind of just, forget about what you think. I'll just go in. You're just a robot and I'll turn the dial and it'll be done. That's not actually how people operate. I think that's a really sad thing that's emerging in energy work, that people approach it thinking that I have no collaborative part of what's going on here. I just go to the energy worker, just like the MD. They turn a few knobs because I'm just a machine that's out of whack and I just need to have those knobs fixed. Negating the fact that you have a free will, that you are operating as a soul and a spirit guide in the person in front of you as well. That's kind of part of my passion about EPT, that collaboration, and that allows them to be engaged at a deeper level.
Right, I agree. And I have found in my own personal practice that mindset is so powerful. I mean, everything starts with your thoughts. So if you can't get your thoughts right, if you can't get your mindset right, then you're going to keep coming back to the same problems over and over and over again. And I found that with EPT, people can see where the root, or that you get to the root of the problem, the originating event of their issue, and they can start to see much more easily why they're stuck in that mindset, why they're stuck in a poverty mindset, why they're stuck in victimhood, why they're stuck, because like you said, it isn't your husband abusing you, it's your father. Well, because when you were a small child, you were taught that you're a victim, and you believed that your whole life, and then you went looking for proof of that in your experience. So when we have a client who is stuck in victimhood, and we're able to get to that root cause of why they believe they're a victim and release it and forgive it, suddenly they are so powerful. They step into their power, and they know that I choose my life and not somebody else. I'm not powerless to decide my future. And it's an amazing thing to watch.
And the thing is, what's very interesting about that particular scenario is I never know for sure how abusive the person they're with is until they deal with their victim issues. Because if I'm living in a state of being a victim, then I'm going to drive abusive behavior from everybody around me.
Mm-hmm.
I will drive it. And I've actually heard husbands say, you have no idea what this person can push my buttons. Well, what the abuser is doing is wrong. However, they state it very clearly. They know something more is happening that prevents them from fully being able to give up their abusiveness. They realize they're being triggered by someone who drives that behavior to validate their own being a victim, and gets power out of it. I get power out of it if I'm going to be a victim.
So yeah, it's wonderful to see that those blocks and those false and limiting beliefs be just released. They just dissipate through this forgiveness work and just releasing these energetic blocks. It's just amazing.
I love it. And I'm really grateful that you're doing this and that you're helping so many people.
I am too.
Goal. That has been
so
my goal.
Fun.
To teach people to do this, and so that more people have it available to them. And so now I have quite a few people who are out there doing this work, and they're able to duplicate what I set up. And it just, that's where my heart is. I'm so happy to hear somebody tell me, I did this EPT work with Rhonda, or I did this with Kelly, or I did this with Sherry, and it changed my life, and I'm so grateful to meet you. I'm just kind of blown away, because that's beyond the experience of what I've always experienced, people coming back and telling me thank you because I worked with them. But somebody saying thank you because you taught somebody how to do this, that's just amazing for me.
Oh, I can imagine. I can only imagine. I have one of my clients has decided to become an EPT practitioner. And so, I mean, I'm excited for those days when, I mean, it doesn't come down to me. I mean, it always comes back to the source, which is, well, goodness is not even you, it's God. But, but you, of course. But to know that you've helped somebody so tremendously and impacted their life so powerfully that now they're inspired to go out and do something similar. And to know that this ripple effect that started with me, or, started with you, and it just sounds kind of convoluted when I say it out loud like that, but.
Well, one of my goals is that people who are looking at emotional health care, that EPT, emotional polarity technique, becomes a solid, professional, well looked at method that people know when they go to someone who does this. I'm not going to get something I don't know. They're going to like focus on my issue. They're going to find how many issues. They're going to fix it. They're going to forgive it. They're going to sit with me and they're going to be empathetic. You're going to be there with me in that moment. I know exactly how this is going to go. The goal is forgiveness. When I get that forgiveness moment, everything collapses and the healing that I'm looking for, the pain I want to go away, disappears. That is my goal. That's what I'm working toward right now, to really increase the skill level of the people who are doing EPT, to make them solid in what they're doing so it's recognizable by alternative and traditional therapy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And can I just say that I'm not, talking down about any traditional therapy, because there's a lot of value in talk therapy, especially if you're learning some kind of, coping skill or parenting skill or, marriage relationship skills. But how many people do you come across in your practice who have been to years of talk therapy, and they just keep talking about it and talking about it and talking about the problem without ever coming to a resolution? And
well, and I want to say the thing that people who go to talk therapy and love talk therapy, they bought into the idea of emotional health care long before the rest of us.
Mm-hmm.
They've been doing it for years because they get it. They get, I need emotional health care to help everything in my life. And that's why they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But what's amazing is they will say, I never walked out of a therapy session feeling this good.
Mm-hmm.
They don't get results very quickly. That's the thing that they notice, is I can't believe that I am changed this quickly with EPT. I've never had that happen with traditional talk therapy.
Right. No, it's so fast.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and what you're capable of healing generationally and in your whole life, and I'm going to say this, there's never, I always say, when are you done with EPT? When you can love 100% of the people, 100% of the time, like God does, then you'll be done. But in the meantime, you're going to be down here on earth like the rest of us, hacking it out. There's bound to be someone who hurts you, someone you hurt. That's going to go on throughout your lifetime. And EPT is a tool that allows you to navigate those kind of conflicts that create physical and emotional illness in your body and in your children and in your future. It just allows you this tool that helps you navigate that and release it as quickly as possible.
Yeah, that's the beauty of EPT. Quick, painless, mostly. Sometimes you have that emotional breakdown. I know you've seen me have that emotional breakdown.
I know, sometimes it's like giving birth sometimes.
It is.
Yeah.
But when you're through, when you get through the hard part of facing your demons, facing your past, facing, that emotional block where you just really have to, you can't go around it. You can't ignore it. You can't climb over it. You have to go through it. So, but with the support of an EPT practitioner, I've had some of the most beautiful experiences with clients and with my EPT practitioner that I've worked with. Just absolutely beautiful experiences, realizations about what I need to heal in myself, about what I need to forgive. And sometimes that's forgiving myself. And that can be the hardest part of forgiveness. It's a lot easier to forgive other people than it is to forgive yourself.
Yes, absolutely. And there's two models of healing out there. One is a self-help in the energy world. And one is, traditional. They're all about showing up for you. They really aren't interested in you doing self-help. So in alternative, there's self-help, and then there's the collaborative effort with a practitioner who has already walked the road. And these are two totally different models. You will never get the same results with self-help that you get with a person who has already walked the road you are about to walk. You just won't. Now, there is value in self-help, absolutely. Absolutely. But if your mind is the mind that created the issue, it's probably not the mind that's going to solve the issue, because your creation of the issue was your coping mechanism for the problem. So being able to release that through, oh, I'm going to go on and do some tapping videos, or I'm going to do this on my own, I'm going to release it. It's kind of like, wow, that's like going to the doctor and getting, and him telling you, go home and cut out your own gallbladder. You're not going to pull it off really very gracefully. You might give it a shot, and you may not bleed to death. And you could maybe even pull it off if you knew enough about anatomy. But you can't, self-help has a limitation. And again, part of the limitation is when there are two or more gathered, who else is there? God is there. So that puts the power of three together. You, the other person, and God. There's three when you collaborate with another practitioner on helping you with your issues. And so anybody listening, if you're like one of those people who, and I used to be one, I can do this myself. I can do self-help. I don't have enough money for this. Or you know what? You can't afford to go on in your life feeling like crap and creating the same thing over and over and over. That's what you can't afford.
Right.
It's not paying someone who you trust, who knows what they're doing to get you where you want to go as fast as possible. You aren't going to do that in self-help methods. So I just have that to say. And that's another energy thing. People who understand energy work seem to, when they lean heavily on self-help, they're missing the energy of three together.
Mm-hmm.
They're missing that energy. That's energy too. You, me, and God. Three of us in this room. As opposed to me and God and me tapping. I'm saying that, even in scripture, it says where two or more are gathered. It doesn't say do this on your own, ever.
Right.
Ever.
Yeah.
The scriptural model is with somebody else.
Yeah. Me and you and God co-creating.
Gifts of healing, so you could help yourself. Oh, I'm going to do my own. I'm going to do all my own. And, I got to tell you, I do some self-help and I do a lot, but I get into a place and I'm looking for someone to be there with me, to walk me through it, to show me what love and compassion looks like in them and in me, because at that point I can't even pull it up in me.
Right. And you're a professional.
Oh my gosh.
And I mean, well, and no, there are a lot of situations. I've told people this before, just, asking for help or whatever, that tapping and some of these other self-help techniques can be really, really helpful if you are in a stressful moment and you know what the cause is. Like, so let's say, for instance, it's the holiday season and you have your in-laws visiting. Maybe you're having some tense moments. Okay. That is where a tool like tapping can come in really handy. Or if you're getting ready for a presentation and you're nervous or things like that. But when you are just in this downward spiral and you can't figure out how to get better, and you're just like using muscle testing to try to go through and find blocked emotions in your body, that is where it is so powerful and essential to have a skilled practitioner there with you to help you through that and support you through it. Because like you said, you created these problems in your own mind as a defense mechanism. Do you think your mind's going to let you just like release them?
Coping.
Exactly.
Your mind's not going to give that up really easily. It's going to think you're stupid for asking, since
Right.
this is working so well.
Sorry, no, we're not giving this up.
over and over.
I know how to be miserable. We're not giving that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh, okay. Do you have any last thoughts for our audience today before we sign off here?
I would say that there is a God who loves you, and He has planned amazing things for your life, for your family, for your relationships, for your future, for your finances. And He's a gentleman. He's not going to get in the way if your belief structure says you don't believe that and you can't handle that. So I just want to say that, when you get with a practitioner, an EPT practitioner, you have someone who's looking at you and they are seeing the God that loves you existing in your life when you're having trouble seeing him there. And that is probably the most powerful thing you can have in your life, is someone who is looking and reminding you that how much God loves you. Do you remember that? Do you really believe that? Because your life doesn't look like you believe God loves you. You aren't letting him in to do the work that he wants to do.
Right. You're not loving yourself.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, beautiful. I love that. That's so important for everybody to remember, that you're never alone in this. You aren't the first person who's ever been on this journey, and you're not walking this journey alone.
And don't settle for something that doesn't look like God.
Mm-hmm.
Don't settle for something that is less than what a child of a king would have.
Oh, I love it. It's so true.
So,
Okay. Well, really quickly, tell us where we can find out more about EPT, about emotional polarity technique.
all right. So I have free self-help training, but there's also some other, it's quite a big old fatty file, over 10 hours of audio that's free if you opt in on my site. It's eptworks.com. And you just opt in and you can get lots of free stuff. I even send some extra bonus videos free. I also wrote a book called The Forgiveness Doctor. You can get on Amazon.com, and it's 99 cents for the digital download, and I think it's $17.99 for the hard copy. I also, I'm teaching core training if you are called to do this, to learn to do EPT just with your family, or starting next year, I'm actually going to start a career path where I work with people who are saying, I want this as a career. And we give a lot more hands-on. That's going to be starting next year. But anyway, that is eptworks.com. And I also have a podcast, and it is eptworks.libsyn, LYBSYN.com. And you can also find that on my website, the podcast, and there's lots of free content, amazing stuff. It's not just a bunch of sales, because I'm not really good at selling at this point. So you won't hear a lot of, just a lot of content.
Yeah, no, fabulous content. And I almost thought that you were going to forget about the podcast. And I was going to say, wait a minute, what about the podcast?
I know,
the podcast is so good. Yeah, people get on the podcast. It is such good stuff. Dr. Annette is brilliant, and she has been researching, and she's like a sponge, and she just loves to give great information in bite-sized amounts, because you can't do the drinking from a fire hose thing, so
although I tried so many years ago.
Well, I know but I love the podcast because it's little bite-sized, digestible pieces of fabulous information that's so helpful. So I encourage everyone to get on the podcast. So, okay. Well, thank you, Dr. Annette, for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to us today, help us to understand what EPT is. And I have enjoyed this time immensely. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks for having me, Kelly. You have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. You can learn more about emotional polarity technique through my book, The Forgiveness Doctor, available at Amazon.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe, like us on Facebook, and go get your free EPT training at eptworks.com. I'm Dr. Annette Cargioli, the Forgiveness Doctor, sharing with you a more imaginative initiative in emotional healthcare. Until next time, listen, love, give. EPT works.